Breaking news. A development is raising serious questions about the future of modern air warfare. Reports are emerging, unconfirmed but spreading fast, that Iran may have successfully disrupted or jammed Israeli F-35 stealth fighters during a recent operation. Now pause, because if this is even partially true, this changes everything, not just for one conflict, but for global military strategy. What's being claimed? According to early reports, Iranian systems may have detected F-35 jets, tracked their movement, possibly interfered with their systems. Now think about that. The F-35 is designed to be stealthy, undetectable, untouchable. So the question is, how can something built to stay invisible suddenly be seen? Why this is so serious? Because the F-35 isn't just another aircraft. It's considered one of the most advanced fighter jets in the world, used by Israel, United States, NATO allies, and built on one core idea: stealth equals dominance. Now imagine this. If that stealth advantage is weakened, even slightly, the entire balance of air power starts to shift. But here's the reality check. At this stage, there is no official confirmation from Israeli military U.S. defense officials. And that matters, because similar claims in the past have turned out to be inaccurate or exaggerated. So we need to ask, is this a real breakthrough or another information battle? The bigger context. Tensions in the region are already high. Recent reports include aircraft being hit or forced to land, rescue missions under fire, conflicting battlefield claims, which means information is coming fast, but not always clearly. The information war layer. Now here's something most people miss. Modern warfare isn't just physical, it's informational. Narratives matter, perception matters. Now ask yourself, what happens if people believe stealth jets are no longer safe? Even without proof, confidence drops, and that alone can shift strategy. Possible technologies involved. Now let's stay grounded. No speculation, only known possibilities. If such jamming happened, it could involve electronic warfare systems, radar tracking advancements, signal disruption technology. But here's the catch. None of this has been confirmed in this specific case. Critical question. So now we reach the most important question. Did Iran actually jam F-35 systems, or is this part of a larger narrative battle? Because the answer will define the next phase of this conflict, why experts are paying attention. Even without confirmation, defense analysts are watching closely, because if this claim gains traction, it raises deeper concerns. Is stealth still reliable? Are counter-stealth systems improving? Is air dominance shifting? And those questions go far beyond one incident. The stakes now, let's be clear. If confirmed, this would be one of the most significant developments in modern air warfare. If not, it still shows how powerful information can be in shaping perception. So now the situation stands at a critical point. Unverified claims, high global attention, and serious implications. But here's what comes next. What actual evidence exists behind these claims? Are there signals, data, or patterns that support this story? Or is this another case of early reports spreading faster than facts? And trust me, the deeper we go into this, now we move into the most critical phase of this story, evidence. Because right now, everything depends on one question. Is there any real proof behind the claim that Iran jammed Israeli F-35s? What evidence should exist? Before we look at what's available, we need to understand what should exist if something like this actually happened, because advanced military events leave traces, not always public, but detectable. Now think about this. If F-35 systems were jammed, we would expect unusual flight patterns, emergency maneuvers, communication disruptions, operational delays. So the question becomes, are we seeing any of these signals? Open source monitoring. Right now, analysts around the world are watching open source data, flight tracking, satellite imagery, signal activity. But here's the key point. There is no widely confirmed data showing abnormal F-35 behavior. Now pause, because this is important. If a major disruption had occurred, it would likely leave at least some indirect evidence. And so far, that evidence is missing. Military silence. Now let's look at official channels. So far, there has been no confirmation from Israeli Defense Forces' U.S. Department of Defense, and that silence raises two possibilities. nothing significant happened. Or something sensitive happened, but is classified. Now ask yourself, which one is more likely? Because both scenarios have very different implications. Electronic warfare reality. Now let's ground this in known facts. Electronic warfare is real, and it is advancing rapidly. Countries, including Iran, have invested heavily in radar systems, signal jamming electronic countermeasures, so the idea itself is not impossible. But here's the difference. Possible does not mean proven. The F-35 factor. Now let's talk about the aircraft at the center of this claim. The F-35 is designed with advanced stealth technology, electronic countermeasures sensor fusion systems, which means it is built specifically to resist detection tracking, jamming. So now the question becomes, could any system realistically overcome those defenses? Experts would say it's extremely difficult, not impossible, but highly complex. The information gap. Now we reach a critical point. There is a gap between what is being claimed and what is being verified, and in that gap, narratives grow. Now think about this. The longer uncertainty continues, the more powerful speculation becomes. Past patterns. This isn't the first time such claims have appeared. In previous conflicts, there have been reports of advanced jets being shot down, stealth systems being defeated, but later, many of those claims were unverified, exaggerated, or completely false. So now we must ask, is this situation following the same pattern? Why this story is still important, even without proof. This story matters because it introduces doubt, and in military strategy, doubt is powerful. Now imagine this. Even a small question about stealth reliability forces planners to rethink, adjust, prepare differently, and that alone can shift strategy. The analyst perspective behind the scenes. Defense experts are not reacting to headlines. They are watching for consistent data, multiple confirmations, technical indicators, because that's what turns a claim into a verified event. Right now, that threshold has not been reached. Critical turning point. Now we arrive at the key moment. The situation can go in two directions. Evidence appears, claim gains credibility, or no evidence appears, claim weakens, and the next few developments will determine which path this follows. So here's where we stand. A powerful claim, global attention, but no solid proof yet. Now the next question becomes even more serious. If this were true, what would it mean for the future of air warfare? Would stealth technology still dominate, or are we witnessing the beginning of a major shift? And what comes next? Now we move into the most serious phase of this story, impact. Because even though this claim is still unverified, we need to ask the bigger question, what if it's true? Pause. Because this is where everything changes. The end of stealth dominance. For years, stealth has been the backbone of modern air power. The idea is simple. If you can't be seen, you can't be stopped. Now imagine that principle being challenged, even slightly. If Iran or any country can detect or disrupt an F-35, then stealth is no longer absolute. And that raises a dangerous question. Is invisibility becoming outdated? Air superiority at risk? The F-35 isn't just a jet. It represents air superiority, control of the skies, strategic dominance. Now think about this. If that dominance is weakened, every operation changes. Mission planning, risk calculation, pilot safety, all affected. Electronic warfare takes center stage. Now here's where the shift could happen, from physical combat to electronic combat. Instead of missiles, signals. Instead of dogfights, disruption. Now ask yourself, what's more dangerous, a visible attack or an invisible one? Because electronic warfare happens silently, no explosion, no warning, just sudden loss of control, the new battlefield. If this claim is true, the battlefield has changed. Not on land, not at sea, but in the electromagnetic spectrum. And that battlefield is invisible to the public, but critical to militaries, global military reaction. Now let's zoom out. If stealth technology is challenged even slightly, countries will react fast. Possible responses include upgrading aircraft systems, investing in counter-jamming tech, developing new stealth methods. Now think about the scale. This isn't just one country reacting, it's global. Allies and adversaries. Watching every major military power is watching this story closely because the implications affect NATO, Middle East alliances, Asia-Pacific defense strategies. Now ask yourself, what happens if multiple countries start doubting stealth? That doubt can trigger a wave of change. Psychological impact. Now here's something even more subtle, the psychological effect. Even unconfirmed, this claim creates uncertainty, and uncertainty affects decision-making. Pilots may become more cautious, commanders more hesitant, and hesitation changes outcomes, the risk of overreaction. Now here's the danger, reacting too quickly. If countries assume the claim is true without proof, they may change strategy prematurely, invest resources unnecessarily, escalate tensions. Now ask yourself, could a false claim still cause real consequences? The answer is yes. Technology race intensifies. Whether true or not, this claim fuels competition, a race between stealth technology, detection systems, electronic warfare, and that race is already accelerating. The balance of power. Now we reach the core issue, balance. For years, stealth aircraft like the F-35 have helped maintain a certain balance of power. Now imagine that balance being questioned. Even slightly, it creates instability. Because when balance shifts, reactions follow. Critical question. So now we arrive at the most important question in this entire story. Are we witnessing a real technological shift or just a temporary narrative? Because the answer will shape the future of warfare. Right now, we have a powerful claim, no confirmation, massive implications, but here's what comes next. How are governments, militaries, and markets reacting in real time? Are there signs of concern behind the scenes, or is the world treating this as noise? Now we enter the phase where things become real time, because at this point, it's no longer just about the claim, it's about how the world is reacting. And in situations like this, reactions often reveal more than statements. Signal 1, military movement. The first thing analysts watch is movement, not headlines, not rumors, movement. Now ask yourself, if something serious happened in the air, would forces stay still? Because in high-risk situations, militaries adjust quickly, subtle shifts, aircraft repositioning, air defense systems going active, increased patrols. But here's the key point. So far, there are no widely confirmed unusual movements linked to this specific claim. And that matters, because real events usually leave real footprints. Signal 2, airspace behavior. Now we move to the skies. Airspace tells a story if you know how to read it. In major incidents, you often see restricted zones, flight rerouting, increased surveillance. Now think about this. If F-35 jets were actually jammed, would air operations continue normally? That's the question analysts are asking. And right now, there's no clear public evidence of disruption. Signal 3, official language. Now listen carefully, because this is subtle, but powerful. Governments don't always say everything, but how they speak changes. More cautious wording, less detail, more controlled messaging. Now ask yourself, have we seen a shift like that yet? So far, no strong indication, which suggests no confirmed crisis at that level. Signal 4, media behavior. Now let's look at global media, because major events create consistent coverage. If this claim were confirmed, you would see multiple major outlets reporting the same details, expert analysis flooding in, breaking updates across platforms. But instead, what we're seeing is scattered reports, unverified claims, limited confirmation. Now think about that. Why isn't the story more unified? Because verification is missing. Signal 5, market reaction. Now we move to the financial world, because markets react instantly to risk. Oil prices, defense stocks, shipping routes, all sensitive to instability in the region. Now imagine a confirmed disruption involving advanced jets. Markets would react fast. But right now, there's no major confirmed shock linked to this claim, which tells us something important. The market is not treating this as confirmed reality. Signal 6, diplomatic activity behind the scenes. Diplomacy always moves. Emergency calls, private meetings, back-channel discussions. Now ask yourself, are we seeing signs of urgent diplomatic activity tied to this claim? At this stage, no clear signals, which again points to uncertainty rather than confirmed escalation. The pattern emerging. Now let's connect everything. No confirmed military movement, no verified airspace disruption, no strong official statements, no unified media confirmation, no major market reaction. What does that tell us? It suggests this claim is still in the unverified stage. Not confirmed reality, but not fully dismissed either. Why this still matters. Even without confirmation, this story has power because perception spreads faster than proof. Now think about this. Even a rumor about F-35 vulnerability can trigger concern, and concern influences decisions. The risk zone right now, we are in what experts call the risk zone, a phase where information is incomplete, attention is high, reactions are possible, and in this phase, one confirmed detail changes everything. The next trigger. So what are we waiting for? One of two things, verification or silence. If verification comes, the situation escalates instantly. If silence continues, the story fades. But right now, we are in between. So here's where we stand. A powerful claim. Global attention, but no solid confirmation. Now the final question. What is the most likely outcome of this entire situation? Is this the start of a real shift in warfare, or just another fast-moving narrative? Now we reach the conclusion. After all the claims, all the signals, all the analysis, we return to the most important question. What is actually happening here? The reality behind the claim. Let's be direct. Right now, there is no confirmed evidence that Iran successfully jammed Israeli F-35 fighter jets. That doesn't mean it's impossible, but it does mean it is unverified. And in high-stakes global situations, that distinction matters more than anything. What this story really represents. This isn't just about jets or one country. It's about something bigger. The intersection of technology, perception, and information. Because today, a single claim can travel faster than facts and reach millions before verification begins. Now ask yourself, how do you separate signal from noise in that environment? That's the real challenge. Most likely outcome based on everything we've seen. The most likely scenario is this. No immediate confirmation, gradual fading of the claim, possible minor clarifications later. In other words, this story is more likely to remain an unverified narrative than a confirmed turning point. But here's the twist. Even if this claim is not proven, it still has impact because it introduces doubt. Now think about that. Even a small doubt about stealth technology can influence planning, strategy, investment, and that means the effect is real, even if the event is not. The bigger strategic picture. Now zoom out one final time. We are entering an era where electronic warfare is advancing. Detection systems are improving. Information spreads instantly, which means future conflicts won't just be fought with weapons, but with signals and narratives. The real lesson. So what is the real takeaway from all of this? Not that stealth is finished, not that a breakthrough has been confirmed, but that the perception of vulnerability can be as powerful as vulnerability itself, and that changes how decisions are made. Final reality check. Right now, we are not seeing confirmed operational evidence, verified military disruption, clear escalation signals, which tells us this situation remains in the realm of possibility, not confirmation. What to watch going forward? If this story develops, you will see official statements, consistent reporting, technical confirmation. Until then, everything remains under observation. So here's where we stand, a shocking claim, a global reaction, but no confirmed reality yet. And in today's world, that may be the most important story of all, because the next time something like this happens, you'll know exactly what to look for, not just what's being said, but what's actually real. Stay sharp, stay informed, because in modern conflict, the truth doesn't just appear, it has to be uncovered.